everybody, today we are going to be doing a tier list of all of the Little Nightmares free characters. So yeah, not gonna waste your time, let's get straight into it. So first we have the beetles, which are the first enemy you encounter in the game. And you know what, I like what they did with them. I like what they did with the combat. I think the combat was actually solid with how they did it. This is the first time we've had like a proper flying enemy in like a game. And, you know, they are very overwhelming, because I like the way they, like, sort of swarm the player. You know, you have to, like, look around, you have to pay attention to where they are. I'm pretty sure they can also, like, crush you if they, like, land on you. So, you have to be careful, and they keep you very vigilant. But my main issue with them is that they don't really use them. They don't really use them after that first scene. They have, like, the build-up to them. You, like, see, like, the beetles, like, you see them, like, scattered, like, all around the necropolis. You see them dead. You see their dead bodies everywhere. But when you finally get to that, like, scene where you meet them, that's the only scene you get with them. And that was actually kind of disappointing, because I was expecting them to be like a constant, prevalent, like, minor enemy for the chapter, kind of like the bullies in the school. But instead, they're only used, like, once. They're only used once, and that just feels like a waste. Like, what's even the point? Why are they even there if you're barely going to use them? And I feel like it's like that with a lot of the enemies in this game. But, like, it's just so disappointing, because their combat was done well, right? The build-up was there, the tension was there, the design is solid. I mean, it's a Hercules beetle, it looks weird, it looks big, I wouldn't want that thing to touch me. So, like, why didn't they use them more? That's my question. So, where would I rank them? So we have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and F tier. Which I added. F tier didn't come with this tier list, but I'm pretty sure there's one of these that I actually think does deserve F tier. So, where am I going to put them? I think they are good, but because they're super underused, they're gonna have to go in, like, D. Because they're just not used at all in the chapter. You can barely even call them an enemy, because they're just not used. They're not in the game. They're basically not in the game. They're only used once. They are just a cinematic scene. That is what they are. They are a scene for cinematography. They are not... they are barely an enemy in this game. Now we have an actual enemy. Monster Baby. I like Monster Baby a lot, actually. I think she has, like, really good screen time, honestly, compared to some of the other characters, and she's the first one you see in the game, so I think that's a really good thing. And I actually really like her gimmick. I like that they brought back the eye gimmick from the mall. I think they overall did a really good job of her, design-wise. I love her design. I love that they took inspiration from Tarsier. It shows that Supermassive does care about Tarsier's work and takes inspiration from them, which I can always appreciate. And her gimmick was really fun, honestly. It felt like a nice way of rehashing something familiar, but in a much newer form. This giant walking, like, Colossus. I like that you also have to, like, avoid, like, the building debris as it's, like, sort of crushing down at points. It creates for very, like, good tension. And I also just love the concept. She is a giant baby. She does not know what she's doing. She doesn't have, like, malice. And I'm sorry if my desk is squeaking. It just does that. But she doesn't have malice. She is just a walking, pure, clumsy nightmare. And I love that about her. She doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know that she's hurting people. And we see that with the Dwellers. All of the Dwellers in the Necropolis have been turned into stone by this baby. And I kind of wish we knew more about the Necropolis. I feel like the Necropolis could have been its, like, own, like, Little Nightmares game on its own. I feel like the Necropolis could have just been its own thing outside of Little Nightmares 3. And I would have loved that if the Necropolis was just a spin-off game. Unfortunately, it was just kind of underused in Little Nightmares 3 because it's the first chapter. So that was kind of inevitable. So, I'm gonna put Monster Baby in, I think, A tier. I think she definitely deserves A tier. She is, like, very iconic to this game. And I just couldn't imagine, like, the start of this game, like, without her scenes. Next we have the Supervisor. I love the Supervisor a lot. I think the Supervisor has a very, great design. I love her hairstyle. I think I've talked about her design a lot, but I love her hairstyle. It's very, like, over the top, and over the top is really what they come to Little Nightmares for in terms of designs. She has, like, this really weird smile. She can look kind of goofy sometimes, but that's kind of why I like her design. I kind of like how, like, creepy and goofy it is at the same time. Her having 6 arms was really cool. Pretty sure this is the first time we've had an enemy with, like, multiple arms like that, so really cool to see. I like that she has, like, purple fingernails and kind of gives her, like, scissor hands, and I like that. I like that she's always holding, like, a clipboard. Well, actually, I don't think she's holding a clipboard during, like, the scenes where she, like, you know, like, she detaches from her dress. But yeah, overall, I think she serves her purpose well, design-wise. But if we go to gameplay, that's kind of a different story. Her stealth scenes are extremely tight, and I mentioned before that I like the tight gameplay, but I just think it was just a little too much for her. I feel like her stealth should have been more open, especially with the cameras. They could have done some really cool stuff with that, like having her, like, try to monitor you in the cameras and use those to track you down. I understand that's a bit outside the scope of the Little Nightmares game, because these games are usually more linear. But I don't know, I just kind of wish they did more of the enemy, like, AI in these games, and made them, like, more, like, patrolling threats. I feel like it would have been really fitting for, like, the themes of the chapters, and, like, how, like, big the scale is, you know? And it honestly just felt like we got barely any of her, like, actually, like, on her wheels. It feels like way too quick. She, like, you know, it goes, like, to the big twist, the cutscene after we, like, turn the cameras off. And for that, I just think she was just kind of rushed. She was a rushed character. And when she, like, finally goes off her wheels, sure, she looks scarier, I think. But it felt a little underwhelming. It just felt a little underwhelming. So, I'm gonna put her... I think she's a better design than Monster Baby, but, like, gameplay-wise, she's worse. So, I'm kind of mixed. I don't know. I think gameplay-wise, the Monster Baby just has the upper hand here, so I'm gonna put her behind Monster Baby. She definitely at least deserves A tier, though. Alright, next we have the Kid. I think the Kid is really solid. He's not my favorite in this game, but I really like him. People say he reminds him of, people say they remind him of, Roger, and I agree. He does give Roger vibes. I really like Minikin as well. Minikin's a great addition, and this is actually, like, this has to be, like, the man in the purple suit from The Sounds of Nightmares. If you don't know what The Sounds of Nightmares is, it's basically, an official podcast for Little Nightmares that's, like, an audio fiction, and he's in the podcast. That's a really cool part. He is a character from that podcast, and he was, like, stalking, like, the character Noon, and it was, like, sitting, like, next to her, and he, kidnapped, like, a kid named Rusty, which you see in the game, which is a really cool part. The continuity there is really good. And whoever made this desk, I'm actually gonna, like, find. This thing keeps squeaking. Do you hear that? Super annoying. It's doing it again. I don't know why it does this. It was perfectly fine before, but now it's doing it again. But anyway, the point is, I really like the Kin. I like his suit. You know, people can say, like, oh, it's William Afton, but no, he looks really cool. He has no eyes, which I like. It makes you wonder, like, how he's actually seeing. Is he seeing through his puppet? Is there something else going on? I like that. His gameplay is actually... It's okay. It's okay. It's a bit more open than the Supervisors, which I like, but it's still just a little too linear for my liking. And I wish it was a bit more open. So, and Minikin's also great. Gameplay-wise, he's just chase scenes, but his chase scenes I think, are really solid. Especially the chase scene at the very end, even though that was kind of clunky. But I still think it was really cinematic, which I like. And I can always appreciate the cinematography in these games. So, where am I gonna put him? I think he's B tier. I think he's B tier. Yeah, he's at least B tier. I think he deserves B tier. Alright. Now, the puppets. Alright, the puppets are mid. They are mid as all hell. I don't think they're that good. Design-wise, I think they're okay. But gameplay-wise, they are barely used. They suffer from the exact same issue the Beatles does. You can only get, like, 2 scenes in the game where we actually have to fight them. And one of those, you can just sneak past them. You can only fight them, like, once in the game, if you really want to. Which I think is so stupid. Like I said, they're barely even enemies. They barely have a presence. They are just cinematic set pieces. Like, I don't get what Little Nightmares has against making the gameplay more open and interesting. I really don't get it. I think it's more than possible. So, I'm just gonna put them... Honestly, I'm gonna put them above the Beatles, but they are just so mid. Okay, the nurses, F tier. The nurses are garbage. They are literally just a really crappy rehash of the viewers from Little Nightmares 2. Their designs were not interesting, they are super boring, they kind of look like zombies, which I like, but they're just so meh. I don't like them. I don't like them. All they do is just stand around in gameplay. They just stand around, they don't patrol at all, they just stand. They literally just walk towards noise. That's all they do. It's so stupid. They're just super mid, and they're not interesting at all, not even gameplay-wise. And maybe they have some relevance to the story, but honestly, they are just not that interesting, in my opinion. Alright, finally, the last one we are ranking, the Hypnotist. Alright, the Hypnotist, I think, this is a very controversial one, I think. Because some would say he shouldn't have been in this game. As a matter of fact, I don't think we should have, like, seen Otto yet, like, at all in the Little Nightmare series, outside of the podcast. Mostly because I think he was such a good villain for the podcast, to the point where putting him in the games, it just feels a little too, like, it just feels forced. It feels very forced, putting him in this game. Because he already had his, like, he had his spotlight in the podcast, right? So now we're, like, fighting him in the game, and it just feels super off. because they were teasing the mirror, right? We thought the mirrors were gonna be related to, like, the big threat of this game. But then there's just this weird, big, like, bald guy who is clearly supposed to be Otto, and it's like, why are you here? We thought the Mirror Man was gonna be the main enemy, which is, like, a character from, like, the comics, right? If you don't know, he's, like, a character from the comics, and it was, like, very, like, alluded to that he was gonna be, like, the villain of this game, because, like, with, like, the mirrors, which are, like, similar to his whole gimmick. But, like, Otto, why is he here? He's super ugly, which I expected, but, like, I just don't get why he was here. Like, I like that he had, like, glasses on, it's fitting. Like, I'm pretty sure we all expected Otto to have glasses. He just has that, like, sort of, like, vibe to him. Gameplay-wise, it's a hit or miss depending on, like, how you play these games. For some people, I'm sure he can, like, be really easy, but for some people, he's, like, a pure nightmare gameplay-wise. I don't think he's hard at all. Yeah, it's, like, tight movement, but, like, once you, like, know what to do, he's, like, a cakewalk, honestly. Not, like, a complete cakewalk, actually. He can be, like, kind of tricky at points. His chase scenes are very good. I think his chase scenes are amazing. But as long as you, like, remember what to do for his parts, and, like, remember, like, the patterns of movement, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. Honestly, you're gonna be good. And you can also do, like, the 2 jumps in a sprint method during his chasing most of the time, and you'll, like, be able to, like, speed through, and he'll be, like, way behind you. So once you know how to do that, the only really difficult part with him is his final boss fight, because, just, you know, it's a lot going on. There's a bit of, like, visual overload during that part, which I think is a bit of an issue, but I don't think it's that hard. So, I think he's, like, right in the middle. Because, like, he shouldn't have been in this game. His presence was solid, but, like, he shouldn't have been in this game. And I think that's really his true issue. Anyway, I don't think any of these characters were S tier, unfortunately, but I think they were all solid, and I think the cast of this game was pretty good. So yeah, that's gonna be the video. If you agree, then leave a like. If you disagree, still leave a like. And leave a comment too. See ya. Bye-bye now.